Well, hello and welcome to another episode of More Perfect Marketing. My name is David Baer, and today I have the great privilege of chatting with Brian Ostrovsky. Brian is actually joining me through his wife's Zoom, and so it says her name, and so I almost introduced you as your wife.
You know, calling me Shannon wouldn't be the most obvious thing, although my sister Sarah is married to a Shannon who's a man. So, it could just be confusing across the board.
I totally get it. Anyway, Brian is the CEO of a platform called Locable. As that name might suggest, it has something to do with local business, and we're going to be diving into the differences between a business that is operating online and serving a wide range of people in multiple geographic areas, and what it really means to market locally, and why you really need to be thinking about how to do that effectively and efficiently, and as Brian will tell you, easily or
Mhm.
simply, which is one of those words that I think a lot of business owners can appreciate these days, especially when it comes to marketing when they're preoccupied with so many other things. So, Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, David. I'm really excited to talk with you about this today.
So before we get to your platform and the concepts behind it, I wonder if you can just share a little bit about how you got there, how Locable came
Sure.
to be.
Yeah, so I was in business school at the University of Washington in 2008 through 2010. And you may recall this was the Great Recession, and a lot of my friends and family run small businesses. They were getting hammered. And so I was learning all these sophisticated things that Microsoft and Amazon and Starbucks uses. And I was looking back home to my folks in Northern California and thought they're never going to be able to implement these things. And so I set off on this journey to solve the local marketing problem as I thought of it. And I actually started working with local media businesses. My stepbrother ran a magazine. I thought I can help him and others like him. They'll be my laboratory, and then I'll figure out how to help small businesses. I thought it would take 18 months to figure out, and it took 8.5 years. So it was quite a meandering journey. The good news about this, though, is we saw fads come and go, like the Groupons and oh, I need a mobile app for my plumbing business ideas and all these sorts of things. And we saw the trends that stick with us, especially around the use of content and storytelling. And so in 2018, introduced something called Marketing 345, which is a training program that I do around the country, and ultimately became a book that we published just this last year. And that approach is all about simplifying local marketing.
But by the way, the fact that you have a system of your own,
Mm,
right? That is what folks in the copywriting world refer to as a unique mechanism. The marketing 345, it's proprietary to you.
correct.
You cannot compete with anybody else. This is one of the uh, things that I often like to highlight when I hear them, because it's it's very instructional for a business to actually do exactly what you did, right? It's what we call competing in a category of one, right? Nobody
That's right.
else is out there selling marketing 345 as the
Right.
approach that they sell. So good for you, and I hope that
Yeah.
somebody listening picks up on this idea and runs with it.
Well, and the thing about it is, I think in terms of frameworks, right? When I was practicing golf and I wanted to get better, 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 I knew I had to practice, but I wanted to simplify things. And so I broke it down into basically three or four swing thoughts that I had in the golf swing. So those are the only things I had to worry about, and everything else just sort of happened. And for whatever reason, I just have this bias towards frameworks. Business school was very frameworks oriented. And so I took actually a very expansive marketing framework and tried to boil it down and reposition it. So marketing 345 stands for the three reasons anyone does marketing, the four reasons people work with you, and the five ways they find you. And really, candidly, this framework came about because I got so tired of hearing people say, I don't need to do marketing or advertising because I have lots of work. This
Hmm.
notion that I'm busy, therefore, whatever. And so that was the origin, and it's expanded now, of course, to be more applicable with some other things go with it. But that was the starting point.
So Would you like to walk us through that framework? Because it sounds like
Sure.
now that you've said it, and by the way,
Yeah.
another another hint for anybody listening, right? What you just did was you gave us a little bit of information that causes us to want to ask more. So good for you. Tell us more.
Sure. Well, so, I'm busy. I have lots of work. I don't need to do marketing or advertising promotion, whatever the thing is. Well, the three reasons any business does marketing, and this is true of any business, but especially a local business, is more of your ideal customers, not just any customers, team building and retention, and positively impacting your community. And if you walk around and you look at small businesses on main streets, you'll see they have flyers of other merchants and they have events and they have high school sports and they have all these things that they support. And if you talk to I don't know, a realtor and you ask for a referral, they probably have a thick Rolodex they can reference, right? And so that you have these varying degrees of supporting local. And so while you may be really busy, maybe your issue isn't you need more customers. Maybe right now your issue is I need to hire. People often forget that you can use marketing for hiring purposes. And it's not a magic wand that's going to make your hiring challenges go away today, but it can make a difference. And likewise, you may be the solo lawyer on Main Street, close to retirement. So you're like, I don't need a lot more customers. I'm definitely not hiring, but I love my town. Are there things I can do to better support my town? And so there's answers to all of these within marketing. And the four reasons people work with you is your experience, expertise, what we call likability, which is how does working with you make me feel, and your values. Competence is something I view as necessary but not sufficient. And I can't help you with that anyway. So I assume it's there. And so I want to help you answer the question, why you? And that can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. And then the five is the five ways people find you. So where the rubber meets the road. And so referrals are always best. And you can do things to drive referrals up to a point. And then you have advertising and promotion. This is this big umbrella, which is offline like print, radio, TV, direct mail. It's online like social media, like banner ads. Next, you have email marketing. Of course, Google factors in, and then cross promotion is the fifth way that people find you. And so we want people to be able to make better marketing decisions, like the common question: should I be on TikTok? Well, technically, you should be everywhere.
But by the way, that is a question that I think is regularly asked of marketing professionals by Main Street business owners because I get that all the freaking time. My nephew
And
told me.
my nephew's friend's brother's son
Yes.
said, yeah. So I say, listen, you should be everywhere, but you have limited time and resources. So you have to prioritize. TikTok is number 47 on your priority list. You don't have a website. You're on number 2. Let's work the list. And if you get there, great. And if you don't, well, you still made some great progress. And so really that's the thing, right? What are your 3 reasons of doing marketing? What are the 4 reasons people work with you? And how does it help you across the 5 ways they find you? And in fact, I'll pull back and say even Instagram, I sort of beat up on a little bit, where your website and Google and Facebook and email, these are all connected ideas, right? A blog post on your site gets shared to Facebook, it drives traffic back to your website, you share it via email, it drives traffic, you rank on Google. And then you have Instagram, which is this other thing because you can't share content in, right? And so it's like Hawaii. It's a nice place to visit, but a long way to go to get there. And so for a lot of businesses, it's not worth it. Focus on the 4 I mentioned: your website, social media in the form of Facebook, email, and Google. This is not obviously universally true. If you're very photo oriented or dance oriented now, Instagram might be a good fit.
I don't spend enough time on Instagram to know that dancing is a big thing on there, but thank you for thanks
Well,
for letting me know.
it was their chief who said 2 months ago, whatever, last summer, that they are no longer a photo sharing app, but they're an entertainment destination, and so they're pivoting to be more TikTok-esque.
Fascinating. And these are forever moving targets on
That's right.
all these platforms as well. So,
Yeah.
it's fascinating because as you talked about the 4 and the 5,
Hmm.
that's where a lot of business owners will speak to the point that you made. Well, I'm either more competent, or I'm better, or I deliver a better service, or et cetera, from my competitor.
Sure.
How
Yeah.
come they're getting all of the business? And it's
Yeah.
because of what the competitor, are doing on the 4 and the 5 that you're not.
That's
And
right. Exactly right.
so really it's just making those adjustments to get people to say, "Oh, I want to be in your world," right? That's going to move the needle for your business.
And I think so often that is where people want to overcomplicate things, right? And to be fair, there have been a lot of tech guys and gals over the years that make all things digital marketing seem mysterious. But the second piece to marketing 3, 4, 5 is how do you simplify the content creation process? And what I've realized and what we discovered with our work at Locable is that there's kind of this basic prompt-based approach that you can use to create content that demonstrates your superiority or at least your uniqueness, right? You don't have to be
Hmm.
better, you just have to be a better fit.
Yes.
And this content is simple to create because it's drawn from real life. So if I tell people, and when I do my talks, this is my favorite slide, I say you should be blogging for your business. And if the room's of any size at all, there's an audible gasp. Oh, that sounds terrible, right? Blogging. And then we break it down and they realize, oh, it's not what I thought at all, because blogging is really just talking about what you did in your business. And so what we do at Locable, the approach I use is called a guided approach. And so we have a series of prompts, what did you do and who was it for and what challenge did you run into and how did you overcome it and what did the customer say? That's your blog post.
Hmm.
And you know it because you just did the thing and you slap a picture on it and now it looks good and it helps you rank on Google and all the things. So content helps you step in and say, look, I'm great, but don't even just take my word for it. Here's what my customer had to say and here's the situation. And if this sounds like you, well, contact us to learn more. And all of a sudden, you're in the content game.
I love the way that you describe that, because there's a lot of different pieces to creating content. There's
Sure.
creating content so that it gets found. There's
Hmm.
also creating content that is meaningful and consumable, where people then either crave more or crave the next step. And then that last piece that you threw in at the end of the content is key, and one
Hmm.
that most businesses actually forget to do, which is, here's what to do next.
Yeah, I call it the click here dummy button because we're all so distracted, right? I might be looking at something on my phone, my kid comes running in, my phone starts to ring, I get an alert, I get whatever. You need to tell me what to do next. And it doesn't really matter if it's call, come in, buy now, learn more, whatever it is, just make it big and obvious. And, a little shameless plug here, but we just introduced a call to action builder feature in our software. And so I'm really excited because I happen to agree with you. I think too many folks miss their calls to action or they're outdated. We wanted to solve that problem. So it's pretty good timing there.
Indeed. All right. Well, we're going to get to that in a second. A
Yeah.
couple minutes ago, I mentioned, there's a big difference between marketing locally and
Hmm.
marketing when you're not serving a local audience. You gave a couple of examples of how that might come into play in terms of, supporting local community, attracting
Sure.
local workers, things like that. Any other sort of things that are important to understand about how to market more effectively when you're a local business?
Yeah. I'll share a story. I was just golfing last week and we got paired up with a couple and he was starting a business making custom charcuterie boards. And so I started asking questions. I like geeking out on stuff. And I was asking about marketing online. He said, well, I really just want to find people locally because online is all of a sudden you're going to get people from the whole world coming to buy your product or something as if that would be a problem. But I dug into it and I was saying, well, okay, so why does that affect anything, right? So this is immediately a misconception that if I put it online, it's therefore not local. And he made another statement, which was equally frustrating for me as the marketer. And it was, I don't really want to sell one or two. I want to sell, 12 or 20 to maybe a golf course who then gives them away as part of whatever, right? They want to do these bulk sales. And so I was talking to him. I said, well, listen, do you already have any of these golf courses that represent your ideal customer? If so, and you do a blog post about who they are and why they bought this product and how they're going to use it and what the benefits are. Now you identify the location of the golf course in South Florida or whatever, and you're saying, here's a model. By the way, the person who bought from you, they probably know 50 other people who run golf courses around South Florida, and they all talk. And so now this content helps you tap into this audience that you want to be in. So as you're creating content, maybe highlighting a customer, definitely include the location of this customer. Or if you're a restaurant and this customer maybe isn't a local, highlight where they came from and talk about that. Why did you drive across town? What were you looking for? What brought you in? Is this your first time or are you a regular? And so you make this content about your customers more than about you, because birds of a feather flock together, right? And so now you're going to tap into these other audiences that you want to replicate. And they're all going to have this local angle if you include the idea of, well, here's where they're from, here's how they got here, that sort of thing.
And I guess, by extension, you could even, I don't know, is it the charcuterie that's on the boards that's what he's doing, or is selling the boards?
He's making the boards out of
Okay,
wood
right.
and whatever else. Yeah,
Okay, so it's not about, like, who's making the charcuterie, and it's a local producer and locally raised, animals that are being used for the ingredients, etc.
not in his case, but if
Yeah.
it was a restaurant who bought them and they were going to source locally,
Yep.
then they could combine those pieces. And now
Exactly.
again,
So
you're
so
expanding it.
so reinforcing the local aspect of it, or that he's a
That's
local
right.
artisan, right? And that speaking to the locavores who appreciate locally made, locally crafted, etc., as
All the
part of
farm
that
to fork,
that
sure.
content. Yeah, exactly. Would makes a ton of sense. I love that idea. Okay, now that we understand, how local can actually exist online but be
Right.
effective at targeting locally. By the way, now that you've told me about this, and I'm all the way up here in Oregon, 9 hours north of where you are,
Yeah.
I want these things. I hope they'll sell them to me. Anyway,
Right.
tell us a little bit about the platform, and sort of what it does and what it solves, because I've been going through the website, reading through the features, and it is a feature rich platform that helps deliver a lot of simple stuff but
Yeah.
necessary stuff to local businesses.
Yeah. When we started looking at the local marketing landscape, we saw most tools fall into two very disparate camps. You have the it does one thing camp, right? Like it sends emails or it powers your website or it does the one thing, or it does everything, but it's an enterprise tool and it's expensive and you have to be a marketer and it's a full-time job to wield this thing. And we realized that for small businesses, what they really need is something that is wider than it is deep. And so we're kind of an 80-20 rule company, right? What's that 20% of features that gives you 80% of the value? And so we build out our tools in this way. So, I'll give you an example. So we have a form builder tool, which is very easy to use. And one of the variations we call the instant contact page. So a business can drop it into their website and it becomes their whole contact page map, social links, hours, form, everything. And someone fills out the form and it stores it in their contact CRM, very lightweight contact database. And then if that person is a customer, they can request a customer review, which the person can leave, and then you can feature it on your website. And so you've got this end-to-end ability to maintain that relationship. Now, there are more robust form builders, there are more robust CRMs, and there are more robust customer reviews tools, but ours are all together. No, by the way, a lot of our tools are entirely free. And so we want to make this available. Now, candidly, our most compelling set of features we call local connections, and these automate cross promotion. So a local restaurant might have live music. They can use our calendar on their website for free to post their events, but we handle some local distribution. So if they work with a Main Street or a Chamber of Commerce or other businesses want to highlight them, their events can show up on these other calendars on other websites instantly for free for everyone. And so this cross promotional dynamic is really our heart and soul of what we do.
And
And so a lot of
I want to tap into this again, because you've done something brilliant here, if I understand it correctly, that is instructional for listeners.
Sure.
Uh, can you explain why this is actually beneficial to you as the business that has created this?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of chambers and Main Street associations. And so they will work with us because they have this problem where they want to highlight local information, but merchants don't tell them things. And so they will work with us. And part of working with us means we help their merchants use Locable software. And when they use Locable software, they can post their content. The business gets to promote themselves. The Main Street gets to amplify the business. Everyone gets more value, and it's automated. And so it does help with our customer and user acquisition approach.
Very, very smart, and again, I think instructional for listeners about how this is a constant refrain that you'll hear from me and people who spend time any time with me is how does this apply to me? This is a great concept. How can you take this concept and incorporate it in your business? And so, thanks, Brian, for
Sure.
willingly sharing
Yeah.
sharing the idea behind how that all works. Anyway, I
Yes.
interrupted you. If you want to
Yeah.
keep going through some of the features.
Well, and so the idea here is we want to give folks who are non-marketing business owners a chance to participate in their community and sort of leverage the relationships they already have. That's a big thing. I always tell business owners, your two unfair advantages is your authenticity and your relationships. And so those are the things we want to help you leverage. And so cross promotion is the relationship side. And then we have a whole series of other tools to make content creation easier. I was talking about guided blogging. This is actually a brand new feature that we're introducing, as in next week. I'm working on it today. Well, I'm not coding it. I'm
It'll be
working on my.
live once this is published. So
There we
look
go.
for it at the locable.com near you.
That's right, exactly. And so the whole idea is, look, we all need to create content, but most of us who run businesses are really busy and sort of scatterbrained. But if something can focus me to where I just answer a series of questions, that's a lot more doable. And so highlighting a creation, spotlighting an employee, here I'll sort of highlight a couple here, recognizing a volunteer, profiling a vendor, all of these sorts of things that you can do to highlight relationships, products, and services. And we just ask you questions. You answer the questions and hit publish, and it builds the blog post for you. So
So it's
that's a
like
feature.
prompts. That's I love
It's
that.
entirely prompt based. That's
That's
right.
great.
Yeah, no creativity required, which is a big thing. And we found that most people can create blog posts in under 15 minutes this way,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool. We have an email newsletter feature called Express, which is kind of the anti-MailChimp or Constant Contact. They are super powerful, super robust, and we go, let's focus on how quickly can I send an email and get
Hmm.
on with my life. So we do some cool things there, and then all sorts of other things around menu builders, promoting and distributing events, things of that nature. So good solid foundation for any local business.
And so what I understand is because one of your user bases are chambers or
Hmm.
local associations,
Right.
you've been able to foster the collaboration that exists in communities
Right.
and or help start collaboration in communities. I wonder if you have any good success stories in that area.
Yeah, my favorite that I use the most is Statesville, North Carolina, and this has kind of multiple levels of success. We worked with a local agency who's the agency of record. So as a software company, Locable is more interested in being the great empowerer than a competitor to, say, agencies or something. So met the head of this agency at a Main Street conference, and she always had a heart for serving the community. So we were a good fit for each other. And they're the agency of record for their Main Street Association, their chamber, and their tourism. And so basically we came in, and in that case, they all needed new websites. So Locable's website tool was a good fit. In other cases, they just want our tools and they can plug in. So all three of these organizations, they all want the same basic local info. They want business info, they want event information, they want job openings and volunteer opportunities. And historically, without Locable, they would be retreading the same ground. Literally, someone on staff for each of those organizations would be out just trying to scrape together this information. Because of our cross promotion tools, now that information flows freely automatically. And so, for instance, there is a restaurant called Red Buffalo Brewing, and they do a lot of live music. So Red Buffalo is using our calendar on their website and our free plan, and they post their event. And then that event instantly shows up on the downtown's calendar. And I think they're a chamber member, although I could be wrong, but I think they're a chamber member. So it shows up on the chamber's calendar, and the tourism also wants to pull in live music. So it shows up on their calendar instantly. So now Red Buffalo reaches more people, and all those organizations have more robust resources for their audiences. And oh, by the way, if Red Buffalo ever had to cancel or reschedule an event, they simply update their own website, and everywhere else is updated instantly. Whereas, when COVID took all the events offline, it was playing whack-a-mole where people were going around trying to remember all the places they posted their stuff to take it down. So more good information, less bad information, and time savings for everyone.
I love that idea, and yes, I've been the victim of trying to find something going on locally, only to find that it got canceled, but it didn't get canceled from that
That's
particular
right.
directory. So I
Exactly.
totally appreciate that. Well, this is brilliant. There's a ton more that folks can learn from the website, and I wonder if you can sort of walk us through. The different ways that people might be able to take advantage of trying out the platform, because
Sure.
I know you have free options, as you mentioned. You have
Yep.
a paid. By the way, I look at pricing for these types of things all the
Yeah.
time, and this is incredibly generous pricing for what you do, particularly because you've made it simple. But I
Hmm.
think that your point is very well taken. That there aren't bells and whistles here intentionally. And
Correct.
so when somebody looks at it and says, "Oh, but I was over on," you mentioned Constant Contact and Mailchimp, and in my world,
Yeah.
those are small players because they're not sophisticated,
Right.
compared to Entreport or Keep or
Right.
Active Campaign. But there is there is a limited amount of stuff that you can do so that you are focused, so that you get in, you get out, you do what you need to do, and you get on with all the other important things in your business. And I think that's
That's right.
very smart on your part. And then you have the community-based one. Can you sort of walk us through that quickly?
Sure. So our free plan is actually free. People often go, well, how does that work? Well, okay, we also have paid upgrades, right? And so the free plan is basically for you if you first want to cross promote locally. So anyone who has other relationships where you send referrals or you support local nonprofits or you'd like to, great fit, great place for you to start. It's free forever. You can cross promote to promote yourself and amplify others. Now, we do have a number of built-in, I'll say starter versions of our paid tools that you can get exposure to as well. So for instance, you can collect 5 customer reviews a month on our free plan, which if you're a realtor means forever because you probably don't sell more than 5 homes a month. But otherwise, if you wanted to upgrade and tap into more requests every month, that's where you have to become a $30 a month subscriber.
And by the
So
way, if you are a realtor selling more than 5 homes a month, this is a no-brainer investment. And I also should say, side note, at the time of this recording, it is $30 a month.
that is a fantastic amendment to what I just said. So
Yes.
thank you. And so really that's the idea is we want folks to be able to experience most of our software for free. If they find that it adds value, then yeah, they're probably going to find themselves hitting a point where they need to go beyond the free plan. If someone needs a website, that's a paid feature right out of the gate. So is email marketing and a few other things. And then we do some special things. So where if you have any folks who have kind of an I have to pick my words carefully here, kind of an agency model where, maybe you run a realtor's office and you have a bunch of realtors underneath you. There's an opportunity with our software, the same cross promotion tools to where each agent can promote themselves, but then you can roll it up to the office wide board of blog posts or events or things. So there's some interesting plays there as well for offices to use our tools.
So is that your coordinate plan, or is that a different one?
They would likely be interested in our coordinate plan.
Got it. Got it. And
Yeah.
that seems like a fascinating option, particularly if you are collaborative with others, or you are creating the same kind of content for
Mhm.
everybody to share.
That's right,
Yeah.
because it can go both directions.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I want to dive deeper into this. I'm going to do that offline with you.
Hmm.
But in the meantime, I want to thank you, Brian, for showing up and hanging out with us here on More Perfect Marketing. I really appreciate you taking the time and walking us through some of these ideas, and being willing to share. Well, I forced you to why you do some of the things you do in your business, because I think you're doing some really very very smart things. You're doing them very well, and it's been very instructive for me, and I hope for our listeners as well.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I look forward to coming back and you forcing me to share more details.
Indeed. Well, you can find Locable at Locable, that's LOCABLE.com. And by all means, check it out. And Brian, thanks for joining us. And I want to thank our listeners for joining us as well. This has been another episode of More Perfect Marketing. Hope to see you back here again real soon. Take care.